So we're going to scribble that out and put in, don't sacrifice them. And they're like, well, we do sacrifice them. Oh, to Molech. Yeah, to Molech. We don't, to other gods. We don't like the other gods. Hey guys, welcome to Joel Reads Bible. I'm Joel, and I read Bible so that you don't have to. We are still reading the whole entire Bible, all the way from Genesis to Revelation or Revelations. Nobody knows what it's actually called. To be honest with you, it feels like this has been going on maybe not forever. Forever in the sense that there are supposed to be statutes and Levitical priesthoods and things like that lasting forever, and they've lasted as forever as me reading this Bible, in the sense that it hasn't been forever at all. But I could say it's forever, and then you could say, well, he meant forever for like that year, you know, and now it's not that forever anymore. It's a different type of forever, because that's what you have to do as an apologist or a Christian or someone who wants to believe that Yahweh didn't get something wrong, or, you know, isn't all-knowing or something like that. You have to start saying that forever now means temporarily. So we'll see if this chapter has anything of forever that we can apply to just a temporary thing at a time. Who knows? Because we're here at Leviticus 18. Look, we're going to get into it, but please subscribe, comment, and maybe even like the video. I don't know. Is it so much to ask? Is it so much to ask? Okay, let's get into it. Leviticus 18. Yahweh said to Moses, "Speak to the children of Israel and say to them, I am Yahweh your God. You shall not do as they do in the land of Egypt where you lived. You shall not do as they do in the land of Canaan, where I am bringing you. You shall not follow their statutes. You shall do my ordinances. You shall keep my statutes and walk with them. I am Yahweh, your God. You shall therefore keep my statutes and my ordinances, which if a man does, he shall live in them. I am Yahweh." This is actually interesting because there's a couple of claims that are being made here. You're going to do my things and not the things of Egypt and Canaan. So that implies that the Egyptians and the Canaanites are doing things that Yahweh hasn't ordained, or doing the opposite of things that he's ordained. So for instance, maybe they're not stoning people that curse their parents. I think it's obvious that they are sacrificing things to other gods, because Yahweh, well, it doesn't seem like he's revealed himself to anyone but the Hebrews. He keeps on saying, "You're my divisions, you're my people." So I don't think they really have an option. It's not like they have Yahweh to worship at all. But the thing that I'm curious about is, do we have a record of what they were doing in Egypt and Canaan that was in contravention to the Hebrews? I feel like we could look up laws and ordinances from Egypt, and I have a feeling that they're probably not going to be miles apart. Like, they probably also didn't like kidnapping. I'm not sure, though. Like, I'm really speaking out of my bum right now. I just genuinely don't know. But I feel like most cultures wouldn't be pro-kidnapping or something like that. Just because he says, do what I'm doing and don't do the other guy's stuff, like do it this way because you're my people, doesn't mean that they're not doing things very similarly and maybe have one or two points of difference. Maybe the main one being doing sacrifices to a different god. But I like this idea that if you keep my statutes and my ordinances, which if a man does, he shall live in them. It feels like this is finally like a, why do this? Well, it doesn't say you'll have a good life, but I feel like maybe that's the implication, which I don't know if that's true, especially not for the people who are being kept as slaves, right? If they're following these statutes, or women who just gave birth to a baby. I don't know if they're like having a particularly good life. Maybe he's like, I won't kill you. That might be what that line means. That's a very common thing for him to say. Hey, look, if you do this, I won't kill you. And if you do these things, I will. So you better watch out. None of you shall approach any close relatives to uncover their nakedness. I am Yahweh. That's a good law. That's a solid law. Now, of course, This is a law that is new. This has got to be brand new because close relative is ironically relative. They've all been marrying their cousins and people that are, you would think, fairly closely related, if not their very own brothers and sisters. I don't know how Noah and the family got on. Like, those are pretty close relatives that would have had to uncover each other's nakedness. Like, that's definitely going to have happened in early chapters of Genesis. So this has changed. That wasn't the law back then. God has changed the law because God will change his mind or the way things work constantly, moving forward in stories because the times change and the tale that's being told is changing. But I don't think the writers thought that hard about this stuff. They were like, those are fun stories. Don't think too much about them. And then these are the real laws. Don't you dare take off your cousin's clothes. Do not do it, guy. Second cousin? No. Third cousin, probably fine. You shall not uncover the nakedness of your father, nor the nakedness of your mother. She is your mother. You shall not uncover her nakedness. It doesn't seem like there's any consequences here. That's the one thing that is curious because we know what happens when they do that. I mean, Lot's daughters uncovered their father's nakedness. Reuben slept with Bilhah. To me, that feels like a mother-in-law, and I feel like that's close enough. By the way, this all looks like this is going to be sex laws. That's nice that they put them all in one place, but that's what's happening here. And I anticipate that we're going to see the law that I've mentioned ages ago, but the one where you shouldn't be sleeping with children. You should not uncover a child's nakedness in this way. We've had a lot of laws regarding yeast. Like too many comments on yeast. So much detail about don't eat yeast. I hate yeast, right? We've had so much, like 10 chapters on how to kill animals because God loves seeing animals killed, the burning flesh, all sorts of sacrifices. And now we've reached finally a chapter where he's saying, we do not sleep with this person, that person, the next person. So all I'm anticipating is one verse, Yahweh, one mention of how about we don't sleep with children? Just one mention would be nice because this is the chapter that would have it. Somewhere down the line, I'm sure we're going to see that. You shall not uncover the nakedness of your father's wife. It is your father's nakedness. Now that's interesting because I just mentioned Bilhah, who was Reuben's father's concubine. You shall not uncover the nakedness of your sister, the daughter of your father, or the daughter of your mother, whether born at home or born abroad. Half brothers, half sisters, because there's a lot of that's going to be going on because these men have a dozen wives. This is good. These are good laws. Oh no, I think you should be able to uncover the nakedness of your father's wife. I obviously don't do that. I wouldn't support that. I think that these are good laws. So I'm feeling good about where we're going to be going with these laws. You shall not uncover the nakedness of your son's daughter or of your daughter's daughter, even their nakedness, for theirs is your own nakedness. It should be obvious. These are grandchildren. Don't uncover the nakedness of your grandchildren, for they are related to you. Is starting to make me feel uneasy. Of course, these could be fully grown versions of those daughters. By the way, what about your son's sons or your daughter's son? Are we going to hear about that? Or it's just obviously this is men, and men are only going to be going for daughters, apparently. That's probably how Bible reads it. Some people will argue the Bible isn't bigoted, but it's certainly not inclusive. I think we can say that pretty safely, right? Without doing too much investigation. But I'm just worried that we may uncover the nakedness of someone the age of a granddaughter, but not these ones. Why? Because theirs is your own nakedness. That's what's making me feel uneasy. You shall not uncover the nakedness of your father's wife's daughter, conceived by your father, since she is your sister. This is probably a half-sister, but again, fair enough. You shall not uncover the nakedness of your father's sister. She is your father's near kinswoman. You shall not uncover the nakedness of your mother's sister, for she is your mother's near kinswoman. So this is just like on the nose, like all the different, like don't have sex with a relative. Don't have sex with someone related to you. Just don't do that. If only Yahweh knew, I should say, what kind of problems that could arise, like if pregnancy were to take place or that kind of thing. But this seems like it's written for people who are just like not going to get it if you give one broad stroke. It's going into great detail, all the different types of relationships, which means that, again, this has got to be very important. These are important things that he needs us to know. It also seems like it's written to, people who just like aren't the smartest tools in the shed, you know what I mean? Very religious, maybe they're from the South, where they're actually, ironically, doing a lot of this type of uncovering of nakedness. You shall not uncover the nakedness of your father's brother. Okay, now we get a boy here. You shall not approach his wife. She is your aunt. Okay, another aunt. You shall not uncover the nakedness of your daughter-in-law. She is your son's wife. You shall not uncover her nakedness. You shall not uncover the nakedness of your brother's wife. It is your brother's nakedness. This is a weird wording, and this goes all the way back to Ham sees Noah nude. It says he saw his father's nakedness. And one of the explanations for that weird story is that Ham saw Noah's nakedness, which would have been Noah's wife, also his mother. And that was a problem. So some people think that he may have slept with his mother, or maybe saw his mother nude or something along those lines. And that's what we get here. We get the idea that it's your brother's nakedness. This was Noah's nakedness. So I can kind of see that now because of this translation. Definitely misogynistic. A woman is the brother's nakedness, like the I own that nakedness belongs to me. It's like that is my body, it's my property. That's built into this text. Like anybody that wants to say that the Bible isn't misogynistic, we already know for sure 100% it always is. But you can find it in these more subtle ways that don't slap you right in the face. That naked woman belongs to you. If you touch your brother's wife, don't do that. She belongs to your brother. Like that's her property. Even though I agree with the law to a certain extent, like the reason why we're not going to do it is it's disgusting, right? So it's like the Bible, when it gets it somewhat right, it's still getting it wrong, which is just fascinating. It's fascinating how backwards they are. But just to put a button on the whole Noah-Ham thing, even if Ham had seen his mother nude or even slept with his mother, which is awful, Canaan still didn't deserve to take the fall for that. I mean, it still went to the son, and it still seems like a propaganda story so that we all hate the Canaanites. But you shall not uncover the nakedness of a woman and her daughter. You shall not take her son's daughter or her daughter's daughter to uncover her nakedness. They are near kinswomen. It is wickedness. All right. You shall not take a wife in addition to her sister to be a rival, to uncover her nakedness while her sister is still alive. Even though that's literally what Jacob did. The way that story is written, it's not really Jacob's fault. He got Leah first by accident, or being deceived. And then he really loved Rachel. So it was just like, oh, well, it wasn't my fault. Like, it's not like I chose Leah. Now I'm also going to choose Rachel. So I think maybe that's a loophole. But if he knows he has Leah and he wants to follow the law, I mean, the law is, again, new. God has changed his mind or developed the system or whatever. But yeah, maybe it wasn't wrong then. It wasn't mentioned. Nobody got in trouble. But here we learn, oh, Jacob was sinning. Was it his fault? I mean, he would have known. You shall not approach a woman to uncover her nakedness as long as she is impure by her uncleanliness. That's definitely about periods. It's probably also kind of disgusting and misogynistic. You shall not lie carnally with your neighbor's wife and defile yourself with her. You're defiling yourself with this one. Interesting. You shall not give any of your children. This is wonderful. So we've gotten all the sex laws so far, and now we're talking about children. So this is where it's going to happen. We've gone to children. So this is definitely going to say, do not uncover a child's nakedness. It hasn't started that way yet, but I'm sure that has to be in this verse because all the other verses are do not uncover the nakedness of someone. That's every single verse that you see. So now at verse 21, where we start talking about children, it would only make sense in this chapter, in the context of this chapter, to read, do not uncover a child's nakedness. Let's see if Yahweh is concerned for a child's welfare in this way. You shall not give any of your children as a sacrifice to Moloch. Damn it, you shall not profane the name of your God. I am Yahweh. So where's the verse? Don't uncover a child's name. Like this was the time to say it. Like this was literally the moment where you would say that. Is it anywhere in the book? Just erase some of the yeast stuff. Just get rid of some of the stuff that we don't need. You didn't need to reiterate the whole tabernacle thing. You could have done like 3 verses on, even if you're a priest, even if you think you can just ask for forgiveness or do some sort of confession, don't do that. And if you hear that someone does it, don't cover it up. If there's an institution you think you're protecting, don't do that. Nothing is worth it. You must protect the children. Where's that verse? And if Yahweh is all-knowing, he knows exactly who is going to be doing these things and knows it's going to be a lot of the people that are reading this book. Put it in there, Yahweh. Where is it? You never mention not abusing children? Seriously? Knowing what this world is going to be like? What a waste of a God. What a waste of 800,000 words. Do a hard Google search, do a deep dive, and please find maybe one verse somewhere in the whole entire Bible where it says not to uncover the nakedness of children. Try to find something. And if you can't, come on back. We'll continue to read it here, but you really should be dumping this God. You shall not give any of your children as a sacrifice. That could have been the end of that sentence, by the way, to Molech. It's like you do give them as a sacrifice. You will be giving them as a sacrifice. To me, don't give them to Molech. You shall not lie with a man as with a woman. That is detestable. Okay, so now we get bigotry driven home. Okay, I was being nice before. I was just like, oh, the Bible isn't very inclusive. And it's like, oh, by the way, don't do that thing. That's detestable. Let's get even harder with our language for this one. This also tells us who this is written for, right? This is only written to men. And I've brought this up before in some of the Exodus laws, but sometimes when you go, oh no, the Bible is equal opportunity. Everybody's equal. Everybody's no, it's actually written to men. It's not even for you as a woman. It's not for poor people. It's not for the slaves. This is written to well-to-do Hebrew men, because they're the only ones that you shall not lie with a man as with a woman. That's a woman reading that would be like, I thought I was supposed to lie with men. That's why it's not written for you. This is just a book of bigotry for rich people. That's all this is. Yahweh loves everyone. He's so loving to everyone. No, he's a rich Hebrew man, right? He's a group of rich Hebrew men that are writing a book. That's obviously what's happening here. Like, why are people still following this? You shall not lie with any animal to defile yourself with it. No woman may give herself to an animal or lie down with it. It is a perversion. To me, it feels like this child sacrifice line is like just shoved in here in a very stark, sort of like jarring way because it has nothing to do with anything else in the chapter, right? We have these seemingly reasonable sex laws. They're all relatives. That's actually reasonable. Then we get this crazy, wacky, wild, don't sacrifice children thing. Then we get the bigotry, but at least it's still in keeping with the theme. And then don't sleep with an animal, which, good advice. But it almost feels like the benefit of the doubt would be like, at some point it was written in there, don't uncover the nakedness of children. And someone was like, oh no, we want to do that. We definitely want to uncover the nakedness of children. So we're going to scribble that out and put in, don't sacrifice them. And they're like, well, we do sacrifice them. Oh, to Molech. Yeah, to Molech. We don't, other gods. We don't like the other gods, but we do want to sacrifice the kids, but not to, it just feels so out of place. Do not defile yourself in any of these things, for in all these the nations which I am casting out before you were defiled. So this is where people get this apologetic that other nations were sacrificing children to Molech. Like they were sacrificing children to other idols. We need to destroy those nations because they're sacrificing children. It's not the sacrificing of children that's the problem, and I've already said that. But we know that he doesn't like it when it's another god. You'd also say, oh, well, I guess they've been sleeping with their brother's wife. I guess they've been sleeping with their sister or marrying two sisters and having a... That's what all these other nations have been doing. The land was defiled before I punished its iniquity, and the land vomited out her inhabitants. You therefore shall keep my statutes and my ordinances, and shall not do any of these abominations, neither the native born nor the stranger who lives as a foreigner among you. For the men of the land that were before you had done all these abominations, and the land became defiled. That the land not vomit you out also, when you defile it, as it vomited out the nation that was before you. If you're a believer, you probably think that it was justified that Yahweh did these things because these people were sleeping with their aunts. Think that that's okay? They were doing horrible things, so they deserve what's coming to them. Couple things. One, this is propaganda. This is what they've been doing ever since the Canaan and Ham Noah debacle, which I mentioned earlier. They've been giving the Hebrews propaganda so that they feel good about what's going to happen to the Canaanites. This is like somewhat foreshadowing, I would say, more than it would probably be a true account of what's been going on in these other nations. Secondly, the Hebrews have done most of these things. Like Jacob defiled himself, and he was a patriarch, and nothing happened. I guess they've been in slavery for 80 years or something like that, 80 to 400, depending on if you think about it or if you just believe what it says. It's just so strange that God is getting so angry at these people for all the abominations and all the defiling that they've been doing. And yet he's just kind of like fine with the Hebrews a lot of the time, even though they're the exact same. These are these double standards that are going to, I'm sure, continue to crop up in the book. And it just proves time and time again that it's just that Yahweh likes these people better. They're his people. And so coincidentally, they happen to be writing the book. So we can't be that surprised. The one thing I wouldn't do if I were them is put in there that they've done the things that they weren't supposed to do, but it does make for interesting reading. So I think that that's probably why they did that. For whoever shall do any of these abominations, even the souls that do them shall be cut off from among their people. Therefore you shall keep my requirements, that you do not practice any of these abominable customs which were practiced before you, and that you do not defile yourselves with them. I am Yahweh, your God. They've already done it, Yahweh. I don't want to tattletale, but they've already done it. They have already defiled themselves. But you loved them. You didn't say anything. You totally ignored it. You were fine with it. But now that other people do it, you're like, no, I don't like that anymore. I bet you any money as we go forward, if we point back to this, they probably will do these again. And I bet you nothing will happen. But we'll see. This might be setting us up for some pretty cool stories. Anyway, that was Leviticus chapter 18. What a mess of a chapter. Why doesn't Yahweh say, don't uncover the nakedness of children? I will never understand that. To me, that's enough to say that this God doesn't exist. I don't know about you. I don't know what your personal apologetic would be. The fact that nowhere in the book, unless you can show me in some sort of verse somewhere, drop it in the comments, nowhere in the book does it say not to uncover the nakedness of children. But hey, we have enough about yeast, so maybe that's more important. Anyway, thanks for joining me. We'll see you next time for chapter 19. Have a beautiful rest of your day. Bye.